Hello, and welcome back to Search for Smiles. My name is Dustin, and this is episode 2. Episode 1 was a success, in my opinion. It took a long time, a lot of effort to figure out how to use Adobe and editing and all that type of stuff, but I'm very grateful for how it turned out, and it's just going to keep building on from there. So, quick thanks to everyone who supported on episode 1. It really means the world, whether it be one person or whether it be 13 million. I'm always grateful for anyone that listens to me or watches me now. But today's episode, as you can tell by the title, is from Playbooks to podcast. And it's a big change, I feel like, if you can't relate. I mean, I don't think you can probably, but it's just today we're going to be diving into my journey through sports and how it shaped me, broke me, and how it brought me here. It brought me here. So that's what today's theme is going to be all about, is from Playbooks to podcast. And I'm going to start off early and I'm going to work up all the way to what's happening now. So in the early beginnings, I started with hockey and basketball when I was a kid, and it didn't pan out. As you may know, I started hockey when I was little. I'll throw up a picture probably of me holding a hockey stick with my long hair. A lot of people haven't seen this photo, so I was afraid of getting haircuts when I was little. I really didn't enjoy it. My neighbor would cut my hair, and I don't know, I just didn't like it. And now I enjoy them. As you can see, I got one just a couple of days ago. It's kind of messy right now, but looks good. And a big part of why I guess chose these sports was I was young. I didn't know what I really wanted to get into or what I would enjoy. It was just the beginning. I was active, running around, trying different things. I had a bunch of memories from playing hockey and basketball. I remember the one time where I was hyping myself up. I was like, yeah, I don't know what position I played. I know it was like positions. I don't know what I played. I was hyping myself up. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go out there and skate and hit this puck around. And I jumped over a little curb. It was like this. So it was like the wall, the ice, and then like the player's box, I believe it was called. I jumped over and ate crap. This is like my one memory of hockey. I also remember that if I stuck with it through a game, because I used to be a little crybaby back then. I mean, I probably am now still, but my mom would get me a little Thomas the Train toy, and James was my favorite, and it was always kind of motivation to, stick with it and keep going. I remember then panning into basketball. I was a hooper, man. I was a hooper. I was tough. I remember I have some memories when I would just throw that thing up and it would go in. And I was like, maybe this is my thing. I mean, that's how I play basketball too now. I'm the guy that sits in the corner and waits for the ball and shoots a three. But I remember I made a half court shot one time. I don't know if it was actually half court. My dad says it was, but it was pretty cool. And it was right before half. It was at the buzzer. And it was just something about competing, I would say. I would say as a young age, I was deeper than it. I feel like most little kids would be. I was really out there like, I'm going to be the best there is. I remember practicing and dribbling and stuff like that. It was a fun time, I would say, especially being little and just kind of running around and being active and being with your friends and stuff. So when I was playing basketball, part of me said, why not football? Why not football? Why not do it? I mean, my dad did it. I was obsessed with the NFL, and I thought, why not give it a shot? Why not go out there and just try? I mean, it's scary at the beginning, especially too, because you're like, tackle football. I'm watching. My dad would make me watch these YouTube videos when he was at work before I'd go to practice or something. He's like, Troy Polamalu, this has to be you, and he's leveling, taking people's heads off, and I'm like, okay, I'll try my best. But when football came into my life, it clicked. Something in there went, yeah, this is what I want to do. I mean, I started as an offensive lineman, and here's a picture of an offensive lineman in the NFL. And I don't know if you see me in real life, I am not this big. It's intimidating. I was a I forget exactly what position on the line, but I was like 6 years old when I started football, and I was like, I'm an offensive lineman. I want to run. I want to run the ball. I want to run the rock. I want to be something cool. Granted, nothing wrong with offensive linemen. Actually, some of my best friends are offensive linemen. So they're probably the most important position of football, in my opinion, more than a quarterback, more than anything else, because they protect the blind side. Nothing happens unless you have good offensive linemen. Especially being a Steelers fan the past couple of years, nothing can happen. Anywho, it was some of the best time in my life when I played little. I mean, when we played football here where I was at, I'm back where I was born. You played three seasons out of the year. You played fall, spring, winter. You get summers off, but I was always around and I was kept getting hit in the head. I was getting knocked around. I was, getting into it at a young age too. It's probably why I'm messed up in the head nowadays, and how sometimes when I think, it don't make sense. But like I said, it just clicked. And at this age, it really became my, not therapy, but it was who I was. It was really who people knew me as. And as time went on, I would move around. We moved a couple of times. I played travel 7-on-7 football. I did everything. I mean, this was my dream. My dream was to be a football player. It was. And if someone asked me that now, I'd be like, I obsessed on it too much. My parents told me, don't make it the world when you were little, but I didn't listen to them. I wanted to be NFL, not NFL, but I wanted to be a football player. I knew every single football player from like 2015 to 2017. I could name you. I've always seen like the videos and it's like name as many athletes as you can in a like hour or something plane ride. I can name probably a lot. I mean, I can, boom, Rashad Mendenhall. You don't even know who that is. I do though. Let me give you another one. Wes Welker. Yeah, Wes Welker. The little short guy that was in the slot for the Patriots for a while in Broncos. He played for the Broncos? I don't know. But you get my point. This was my world. And it's something that I love. I still love today. It's something that is always going to be a part of me. So as I kept playing football, I then transitioned to a running back and a linebacker. And this started off my second season. So I was still probably about 7. As I said, we played 3 months. And I remember my first touchdown vividly. Vividly, is that the word I'm looking for? But accurate, maybe. It's on film somewhere. We have old films of these games, but granted, I was stupid when I scored. I mean, say like I'm going this way. I'm trying to score. The end zone's over there. And there's a part of the video where my offensive line's in front of me and I'm a back like this. My back is to the whole play. And I'm like looking at my quarterback. I had a great quarterback. His name was Carter, and he was hilarious, and I love the kid. And then I just kind of squeaked in. It was only like 4 yards, but it was the first touchdown. It was pretty cool. It was probably one of my favorite moments from football. It was something that I could tell my kids about when I was 7 years old. Hey, this was my first touchdown, and I just woke up, football, ate, went to bed, repeat. That's how it was. And then once we moved to Washington, it blew up, as in like good. I was better. I was out there just playing ball. I mean, that's when I really became a running back and linebacker. I was I'm not trying to be an ego here, but I was one of the best players on the team. Honestly, wherever I went, I feel like I was one of the best players. And it was, as I said before, it was my childhood, and it is something that I'm always going to remember. We did 7-on-7 football when I lived at the second spot that I moved to. I moved to Washington, and we did 7-on-7 football, which is kind of cool, I guess. I mean, there's no pads, and you're just running out there catching balls and stuff like that. So it was it was pretty cool just being out there, especially with how much I've grown into the game. I was really devoted. This is when it started to really click for me that I can do this. I can be a football player and I can go out there and give out the effort that needs to be given. I can go and work at this. I was outside. My dad was teaching me. I was working out. He'd drag me to the gym. I didn't want to go to the gym. I did not want to go to the gym. Granted, I was like 12. I was 12 and my dad's like, let's go to the bench press. I'm like, I don't want to go to the bench press, dude. I'm 12. And I lived in Washington where it was hot, not near Seattle. I was near like in the desert. It was hot, dude. Everyone's out swimming. And I'm down here bench pressing with my dad looking up at me saying one more. And I'm like, Lord, one more rep. I was in the gym for like 2 hours, which is normal now. But when I was little, 2 hours felt like 5. And it's when I really saw the growth. I was getting better, though. I remember when my dad would be like, you need to work on your hands. You need to catch the football. I was like, yeah, I need it. And I would say like a same kind of view. My dad was over there. Okay. Say he was out. This was in the yard. He was over there. He's like, all right, we're going to work on your hands. And I'd turn the other way and he'd be like, turn. I'd flip my hips, turn his way, and the football would be like right here. And I had to adjust so fast to catch the ball. He was probably like 20 yards away. And I busted my nose and face so many times not being I got bloody noses and stuff. I was out there, man. And a part of it was like, a lot of it actually was, man, this sucks. But even at 12, for some reason, I wanted to keep doing it. I may have been a little baby about it, but I wanted to keep going because this was a dream that I had. I wanted to play college football. That was my goal. That was my dream. That was the dream since I first really scored that first touchdown, I'd feel like, is I wanted to play college football. And as we were in Washington, I just kept going to the gym, kept striving, kept working on it. Then we moved again. We moved to a small state named Connecticut. And I remember my mom said, like, oh, we're moving. I'm like, Connecticut? That's not even a real place, dude. I'd never heard of this state. I was like, Connecticut? It's not a real place. It's like Ohio. Don't people make memes like Ohio isn't real? That's what I thought about Connecticut. And I moved there when I was in 7th grade. We moved. I was there. And my first season there at Connecticut playing youth football before going to high school, because we didn't have middle school football in Connecticut. You didn't play for like your middle school team. You played for like a youth organization nearby. I took off, man. I set records and stuff. I mean, people say, I'm not trying to boast or anything, but like, I'm not going to say the town name, but people said like the youth town there that was having football was dying. And then I was balling out. We only won like 3 games, but this program hasn't won a game in like 6 years. I probably had 1,500 yards rushing that year. I'm just saying. And that was probably the most fun I had in my life. I mean, in being in 7th grade, you're growing, but you're still not fully developed, I'd say. And you're really still trying to just enjoy your youth, I'd say. But it's hard moving around when I was little. I mean, especially this is what made Connecticut so easy on me, I feel like. I went in there and I was like, okay, I'm going to play football. And I met some guys I'm still good with to this day. I talked to them, and it was one of the most fun seasons I have. And then this is when things turned to a staple in my life. I played in 8th grade. I played for a different youth organization nearby where I lived. And people say to me that, why'd you go there? Do you regret it? That's probably the biggest one. It's like, you had 2 options. Do you regret it? And full heart, I would say no. I really don't. I went to this new town organization type of thing, and the coach would watch and stuff, like the high school coach. And I met all these new kids again. I met new people. And it was something I'm going to hold on for the rest of my life. This is where everything was like, truly, I know I said this already, but this was where everything was, it's go mode. It's time to do this. I played youth football there, and I did good. It wasn't as good as the team before, but it was good. And I remember a day in the 8th grade, the high school coach took me and said, hey, why don't you just come and see the high school? And I was like, okay, whatever. And I got a tour of the high school as in 8th grade for the town I was playing in. And I taught, my dad was there, my dad and me, and just talking to the coach and stuff. And I decided to stay there. I played high school football there. It was a debate for a long time with me. Like, do I go to this high school that I'm currently living at, or not living at, but like in the area? You know, sometimes I have like areas like, oh, if you live here, you got to go to this high school. Or do we move and go to this other one? And we moved and we did it. And I will say that this comes back to the question of, do I regret it? And I say no. I had the same kids I played 8th grade football with me the whole time. So going into high school, I would say there was high expectations for me in 8th and freshman year. Freshman year, there was high expectations for me. Like, dude, you gotta play. You need to do something. You're on the clock. So I was the 5th ever freshman to start as a varsity player at this high school. I was the 5th ever. There's been a couple more now, and I love them to death, but I was the 5th one ever. So I'm playing in this season. First game, I was that close from blowing my knee out. I was extremely lucky. I remember my sister telling me about it when she was taking pictures through her little camera. She saw it and was like, I told my dad, like, you need to go down there, because she saw it looked bad. And luckily it was only a deep bone contusion, but I should have probably blown my knee out. I remember laying on the turf of my first game. This was the first game ever in high school football. I remember my leg was just kind of dangling. I don't remember what knee it is now, but I didn't know how much a deep bone contusion can hurt. I believe it's like just like a deep bruising, but I couldn't move my leg, like my knee. And I remember the cart coming on. Like, they had to get the golf cart out, and they took me off. And it was, I don't think about it too much, but when I do think about it, it's like, man, I was scared. I was doing this since I was 7 years old, 7 years old. I did all this work. And first game of the year, you're going to tell me that I'm no longer able to do this? I just got here. I put all this work in. Luckily, like I said, it was only a deep bone contusion, and I was okay. I ran funny for a little bit. If you go back and ask some teammates of mine and the coaches, I ran like a goofball. So this leads me to another sport I got into. Not crazy and new. I didn't really want to do it, but I picked up track. I was not a track star. You could ask anyone that went to my high school. I was not a track star. I did it to get faster and rebuild and stuff like that. Drop my 40 times and stuff when I get recruited. That will come into the video later. But I got track, and fast forward, I was always a runner. I didn't throw, which is kind of weird. I was kind of a bigger guy at the school, you know. I was benching a lot. I was benching 270 something that young. And everyone's like, oh, you should throw. I'm like, I didn't throw. I was a sprinter. I did a 100-meter dash. I did the 4x1. Those were my two main events. And then later down the road, I became in the 4x4. We're going to get into that, but that's a funny story I'm going to tell in a little bit. So that's when I kind of rejuvenated and started learning how to properly run. Because I remember in Washington, I started learning. I went to some trainers. How like my foot would stick out. My dad would have a duck foot. And honestly, I think it's pretty fixed. I haven't heard about it in a while, but then sophomore year came after track. I learned how to run and stuff. I finished my freshman year. We went 3-7. And all my friends from youth football were on this JV team, and they were undefeated, and they were having a blast. And I'm like, how am I in this situation where I have this cool opportunity and all my best friends are balling out, having fun, and I'm over here on a 3-7 football team, I wouldn't say not caring, but like, dude, it was awful. And fast forward, all my friends got moved up, and I'm like, oh, we're about to make we're about to win the whole conference. We're about to win this thing. And COVID happened. So we had 7-on-7 football. And as someone that was a running back, but mainly a linebacker is what I loved, is what I wanted to do, and what I continue to do. It wasn't fun. I don't remember. Did we go undefeated? We might have. Might have lost one game, but we were but we were balling in 7-on-7, man. We were out there throwing that John around. I wasn't that good. I mean, I gained weight and stuff because I had to get bigger for linebacker, but Zach, I know you're watching. You didn't throw me the ball much, but that's okay. So I don't have much to say about my sophomore year. I would say that it really was just kind of a blur. I remember it was back and forth, like, oh, we're playing, we're not. Oh, we're playing, yeah, we are. No, yeah, no. And then it canceled it, and we just had 7-on-7 things. Then junior year. Excuse me a second. Junior year. This is when you're getting close. You are on the verge of hopefully going to the next level. And it was probably my best year of high school football. It was enjoyable. There was still COVID things. I remember one time we had a game it was supposed to be on Friday. It was Wednesday afternoon. What? But junior year, I don't remember how we went. I think we were like just above 500. I think we were like 7-4, about there, I'm pretty sure. And it's when I really started to, I was making film. My dad was helping me. I was going to camps. I went to a PIT recruiting camp. I went to University of Maine camp. I had visits, not official visits, but like junior day stuff. And it was here where I'm like, okay, time to really put go mode on. And this is when, how I mentioned, going to the gym little, I didn't want to do. But like now that I'm older and see the opportunity, I was there almost every day, especially in the summer. But like after school, I would go and stuff like that. And it was probably my best year of high school football. And it was it the most fun? It was up there. I mean, it was as I said before, I don't regret going there. I love all those guys I met. I'm friends with them, and it's the people that I'm going to have. I mean, some people, I will say this, 95% of the people I met through football are going to be at my wedding party, or what do you call it? Like, you know what I mean? But you make relationships and you make these moments that you're going to have forever. And that's what sports really does. I feel like that's one of the biggest things I can take away from it. I'm going to continue in this later, but to compete and just get better, it teaches you a lot. It taught me mental toughness. It taught me resistance, resilience. It taught me to strive. I wanted to be the best player. If I wasn't getting the ball, I was upset. Maybe some people knew that, but some people didn't. If I wasn't getting the ball, or I was like, if I missed a tackle, I was mad at myself, other people. I had this dream since I was 6 or 7. And I wanted to get there. I really did. So junior year, we did pretty good. And then senior year, 2023, we went 9-1. We're not going to talk about that one game, Zach. We're not going to talk about it. That's that one game I didn't play in. The one game that I didn't play in, we lost. But we had this one game where it was against a team that they always dominated. They had state championships. They won it. They didn't lose a home game in 8 years. 8 years. That's how good they were. And I remember getting the schedule. I remember seeing them October 13th, 2023. No, 2022. My bad. 2023, I graduated. 2022 was football. I remember the day. I can't even remember that off the top of my head. But October 13th, we played this team. And it was highlighted. It was circled. I wanted it. I wanted to win this game so bad. I really wanted it to. Senior year, offense, I wasn't much of a threat. Defense was where I was going. I was talking to these colleges and stuff. And I remember the one day where this small FCS D1 coach came. This was like before this October 13th game. They came into my school and was like, I'm going to be at that game. I'm going to be there and I'm going to watch. But I'm also watching the other team's quarterback. And I had hype in this game. I really wanted it once I saw that schedule. But like now it's like he's watching me and my opponent. I remember going into this game. I remember getting off the bus. I remember this game vivid. Vivid. I'm not good at grammar, but vividly, I feel like it's the word. It's like I remember every detail. It was cold, but not too cold. I remember every single detail. It was probably besides the first game of my freshman year, I puked because I was nervous, but this is probably the most nervous I've ever been in the game of football. And for a long time playing football, I cared so much where I was nervous before every game. My dad always said, if you weren't nervous, you didn't care. And he was right. I would say that I cared, but this game was different. I really wanted to win this game. And I had a couple nice plays on offense. I had a couple chunk runs, but I just knew my coaches, my players, my teammates, we wanted this game badly. So senior year, when this game happened, it was a brawl. I remember watching a film with my dad, and he's like, that's probably the most physical game I've ever seen you play in. Not just like maybe me being physical, but he just meant like physicality all around. They had talent, and we went in there, and I forget what the final score was, but we won the game. We won the game pretty convincingly too. I think we won by like 18-20. I remember before this game, all my friends were talking to me about it. They're like, yo, this team's coming. Yo, you're playing this team this week. And I'm like, I know. But there's two plays actually. One good and one bad. It was a play where it was a pass. It was, as a linebacker, you're taught to take a small step on the ball as your feet, read the play, then react. 1,001, go. Run, read the guards. Pass, turn your hips and drop back. I dropped back. And then weirdly enough, one of my best friends of my life, he's probably going to be one of my best mans. He probably is the best man at my wedding. I give him all the credit for this play, but it's the pass with the opposing quarterback that the coach came to see. He liked football. He wasn't crazy about it. So they left him untouched. They didn't touch him. And as soon as he gets hit, his arm he lollygags the ball. It goes up in the air. So I was able to pick it off and get an interception and run it back 30 yards. And it was crazy. It was probably, I just remember thinking, I stayed on the ground because something happened early in the game, and I'm going to get into because I was in a lot of pain, but it's something that is near and dear to my heart because it really told me that all this work that I put in was paying off. I wanted this game bad. Granted, Alex did a lot of work on that play too. So, Alex, I love you, and I know you talk about this, but it's top 3 favorite plays from my football journey, career, whatever you want to call it. But while I was on the ground for a little while, it was before early in the game, I went in for a tackle. I watched this video 100 times. It was a pitch to the weak side. It was a pitch to the weak side of the field. Weak side of the field means the smaller side. So like they don't have as much room, if that makes sense, to the running back that was in the backfield on the strong side. So he was here. I'll get up for this. He was here under center. And then the running back's like over here. He came around, pitched the ball. So I was on the same side as the running back that came there. So I had to really scrape. Scrape is trying to get off their defender, running to the point where it would get you the quickest there. Is that the right words? But running to a point where you can meet them the fastest you can without taking an angle. My dad used to call it a magic spot. I remember in the backyard, he's like, go to the magic spot. You got to get there, man. And I was able to get there. I was a little late. And then my arm got here. And it got like contorted? Pulled. It got pulled back and bam. I felt a snap in my elbow. It didn't hurt. A lot of people say when this happens, it hurts, but it didn't hurt. But it happened. I immediately grabbed it, and you could see it on the film. And I've had a concussion, and I had my knee thing. I've had 2 concussions. But this was different. I mean, when I was talking to their trainer, because we were away. It was at their game. It was at their field. I was talking to the trainer. I was like, there's no pain, but it's staticky. Like my arm feels static. And I tweaked my UCL. I was out 2 games after that. But I remember going in at halftime and my coaches were talking to me like, can you play? And I wasn't going to miss. I wasn't going to miss this game. I mean, I wouldn't miss the birth of my children, my wedding. Third would probably be this game. It was a moment that all this time of learning resistance and pushing yourself, I stuck with it. And I was like, if I would have came out, I would have never gotten that pick. I would have never been able to have that play. This comes into great importance later, but we won that game. We went 9-1, and that game was crazy. I remember Zach right before halftime too. I was like, as the buzzer went off, my good friend Zach scrambled. He was a quarterback, like 75 yards for a touchdown, which is crazy because if you know football, usually you're doing a Hail Mary, and he just said, tuck and run. And I'm like, I turned back. I'm like, oh, and he's running. I got 1 block. I helped a little bit. I've seen the film, but I helped a block. He came back, and he went like weak side all the way back across, and he scored, and it was crazy. We won that game, and I remember calling my 2 other best friends. I was like, yo, we just beat them. And with an ice pack on my arm, I was so happy. And I remember after the game, there's a picture of me and a good friend of mine, Nunu. His name's Manny, but we call him Nunu. My mom has, and we were just like, we did it. Like we beat this team. It was emotional. It was, I mean, the moon's in the background and all, it was an emotional game. We went in there. I had bad plays. I had good plays. But I just knew I gave it my all, and that's all I wanted. And I remember there's a photo that's actually sometimes my lock screen of I was bawling, dude. I was crying. And I hugged my dad. He didn't really understood like why I was crying and stuff, because he was kind of worried about my elbow because me being his son. But I have this photo, and nothing I would have accomplished in football, I would not have been able to go on to do what I did without my father. He gave me so much light. Not light, but if no one believed in me, I knew he did. But I didn't believe in myself. He did. I would never have been successful in football without my father. And he helped me so much. He took me to the gym when I didn't want to. He was out there. He had me in the front yard and all pads working on how to tackle. If I put my hands on my hips, he make me run a lap. And our front yard's like a football field and like 50 yards wide, and I was running, dude. And he helped me so much. And it was an emotional moment. So this game meant the world to me. So fast forward, we went 9-1, and then we had a playoff game at a place that wasn't even our home turf. We didn't have a senior night at our home place because our field was getting worked on. And we lost that game. A lot of people were sick and stuff. And my elbow was tweaking up again. So it was always, I had to wear like a brace and stuff. And there's a picture of me walking back to the locker room, and I have a video of me taking off my pads for the last time for that team. Because at this time, I didn't know for sure if I was going to play college ball. And I took a risk, and I did it, and I did so much, but it was still emotional. So I finished up my senior year, and I went to a Division II college, and I played college football. And I remembered, so fast forward to college, because I signed and stuff like that. I went here. I was here blocking. I tried to shed. My elbow gave out again. It was the last time I would play football. It was the last time I put on pads. And this was a couple weeks, like 2 weeks out of before our first game. Granted, I was just a freshman. I wasn't going to play no minutes. But this would be the last time I played football. I don't know if a lot of you know that, or a lot of you knew that, but that was the last time I played football. I had a grade 3 UCL tear in my left arm, and as well as other ligaments were torn. So it was, I got Tommy John surgery, had to recover, and it still bothers me to this day sometimes. I mean, I don't know if you could see it, but oh yeah, you can. Right there. And this kind of ends the playbook part. I played football from the age of 7 to 20. Played it for 13 years, multiple times a year. And I accomplished my goal, but it was a heartbreaking ending. But this UCL injury changed everything. I couldn't play anymore. And dealing with that loss was probably one of the darkest times in my life. I didn't know who I was. As I said before, this was me. This was who I was. This is everything that people know me for. I went to this school like, oh, you went to play college football. That's Dustin. That's blah, 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 blah. And dealing with this loss, I was going through, like, I would say an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was without football. And my mental health and overthinking was through the roof. And this is what eventually would lead me to getting into mental health and stuff like that. I went to a therapist on campus, and I still go to her, and she's amazing. But it was probably the darkest time of my time. Not time, but like life so far. And it's crazy how fast things can be stripped away from you like that. I mean, I don't like thinking about it, because there's nights when I was up in my arm in a brace, all wrapped up, crying alone in my dorm room because I didn't know what was happening. So that, and like I said, this part of the podcast of playbooks and podcast, that ended the playbook. That ended the playbook. After playing youth football, playing high school football, doing all these camps, getting recruited, going track. Dude, speaking of track, back to what I was saying about the 4x4. Here's a video. I'm going to play a video of me running a 4x4. That's not a 4x4 guy. Okay? This guy's not in the 4x4. I'm like this linebacker chugging. He's like, go. I'm like, dude, I was humbled. HUMBLE. Humble, because I didn't realize how hard it was to do a lap around a track with that type of event. But man, it was something. So all this work kind of got stripped away from me before I wanted it to end on my call. So fast forward, now I'm doing this and I'm still going to college. I'm still enjoying it. I picked up golf, as people know. It's really fun. It relaxes my mind and makes me kind of still be competitive. I still compete. I mean, when I'm on a golf course, I'm not getting hit. I still want to beat anyone. If I lose, I'm tight. I'm mad. But after the football is moment, I wanted to put my energy to something else, and that's golf and stuff like that. But I guess talking about when I lost football and just a lot of other things contribute, but football is a part of it, is why this podcast exists. It was turning pain into purpose. I was just having a conversation last night with someone when they said they're not doing too hot. I say, I know whatever I say right now is not going to fix everything. And with how I am, I don't want anyone to feel how I felt in that dorm room crying. Whether it just be from football or anything else or trauma, I don't want anyone to feel that way. That's the whole reason why this thing exists, is because I don't want people to feel like the time I felt when I lost pretty much my whole life. Not my whole life, like, so I turned pain into purpose. I have this, I'm talking right now, and I still love the game, but now I want to talk to people, share laughs, and help others smile. I guess I still love football. I'm a Steelers fan. It takes a lot to be a Steelers fan. But I just want to make people smile and enjoy life and have a purpose. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I really want people to smile. Search for smiles. I want people to search and enjoy this. I mean, sports taught me how to lead, and now I want to use that to do this podcast. I was a captain. I was all conference. I got awards and stuff. I played college football. I gotten a lot out of it. So it really taught me a lot of how I am today. Motivation, discipline, mental toughness, compassion, all those things I learned from the game of football and just sports too. And that's why I encourage so many people to go do sports. Maybe don't push yourself as hard as I did, but do it. You learn a lot from life. You learn so many core values that you're going to need for the rest of your life. So that was kind of my journey with football and my sports. And I encourage people that are listening or watching to DM the podcast or whatever to share their own sports stories. And I have like a couple questions here that I'll summarize good times that I had with football and stuff like that. And one of them is, what is your favorite memory? So this is kind of like a fun topic of the show. Pardon me. Favorite memory, week 1, senior year, first play of the game. I remember sitting in class, English class. I'm sitting here, we're working on something. They're talking about the game. We're playing our rivals. Like, we didn't play this team in a long time, but we hate them and they hate us. And this was the school. Remember, I was saying I could go here or here. This was the other school I could have gone to. We played them week 1. And I'm sitting there. And they're like, who's going to score first? Who's going to score first? I'm with Zach, the quarterback, and Jack. I get it. Jack, Jack, all in some ACK. And I told him, I was like, man, I'm going to take this thing back. First play. And it happened. First play. I took the kickoff back for a touchdown. I'll play the clip as I'm talking. It's pretty cool. They had a cool edit of it. But man, it was so cool to do that. I felt like it really told me I made the right choice. I love these guys. You guys are still just another team. And it was my favorite moment from football. That play against that team that always won the state championship. Those were 2 moments. I loved everything that it was given to me. I love everything that football gave to me. I still love the game. But man, that moment was pretty cool. I remember after the game, we had like a little group chat. I remember who said it was Jack, one of the Jacks. And he was like, yo, he really called it. And I was like, I sat, let me put my seat back for this. I saw that and I went, manifestation. My mom helped me with that. When I was playing football, she's like, I told myself, like, I am going to make this tackle. And a lot of time it worked. I remember the one time against the team, I was like, I'm going to make this tackle for loss. And I went in there and I got a tackle for loss. I was like, yeah. So that really concludes this kind of playbook to podcast, because I've learned so much from football where I want to continue with it in this podcast. And that's why it's called Search for Smiles, because I led teams and I want to lead people to smile. And I would say that does conclude this episode of Search for Smiles. So thank you for being part of the journey from Playbooks to podcast. Now you're in this part of my life. And I really hope you guys all keep on striving to do what you want to do. And I really hope you guys have a terrific week. I appreciate you guys tuning into episode 1. I appreciate you guys tuning into episode 2. And that concludes this episode of Search for Smiles. Thank you.